Hello everybody, this is the Overthinker and welcome to the channel. Now for today's video what we have is after the 2019 NFL Draft I had a video I was going to make about basically all of the players. I wound up making one single video about Travis Fulghum, the wide receiver, and I had plans to make at least 3 more videos with all the rest of the players, but I kind of got distracted by some other things. And now 2 months later, I think it actually is a pretty good time to make this video because now I can kind of look at, what I thought, and then I can look at what we're actually hearing coming out of camp from some of these guys, and right before the preseason. So it will basically be like right before we actually see a lot of these guys on the field playing football. So yeah, I still have my notes right here that I wrote like 2 months ago. So we're going to go through this. So for the first pick, TJ Hawkinson, my first initial reaction was, there were a lot of really good football players on the board there, and I think a lot of those players would have helped our team. So for us to take a tight end there, I'm really hoping that we get immediate impact because we are really in a win now mode with the age of Matthew Stafford, and the rest of this team. We have a pretty young defense that's good, and we, a couple years from now, we might not have much cap space. So we really are in a win now mode. So I'm real hoping that a tight end of his caliber, TJ Hawkinson, can really just come in and be really good right away. And that's not really realistic usually for tight ends, but I'm hoping that can be the case. So yeah, what I got here, TJ Hawkinson is a very technically sound blocker, likes to win on every play, definitely gives a lot of effort with blocking. And then I also have that he's a good athlete, but not an elite athlete. I thought, he's probably more like an Austin Hooper. I don't think he's quite like Gronkowski or like Eric Ebron or like who's another really athletic tight end, Jimmy Graham. I don't think he's quite that fast, but he does have enough speed to be a really good tight end, I think. And I do think he'll run away from quite a few people in the NFL. I just don't think he's an elite athlete. And I think Austin Hooper had like a 70-yard touchdown versus the Bears a couple years ago, or maybe that was last year. So, Austin Hooper is a pretty athletic tight end, but he's not an elite athlete, and that's why I made that comparison. I think he'll be much better than Austin Hooper as a tight end, but in terms of just pure athleticism, he's probably right about there. At least that's what I thought. And then also I have here, I'm really expecting this year that we're going to be running the ball a lot after taking a tight end like that. I'm really, with the addition of Darrell Bevell as the offensive coordinator, I'm expecting Stafford to probably not throw as much this year. In the past, to beat a really good team, we would have to throw about 40 times a game, or more to beat really good teams. And I'm hoping this year, at least what it's looking like, is we're probably going to be running the ball a lot more, and we're only going to be looking to throw the ball probably 25 to 30 times a game versus those good teams. If our running game is actually working the way it's supposed to, that's probably going to be the design of the offense. I think we're going to see a lot more pistol offense and a lot of bootlegs, and that will work out pretty well, I think, for Hawkinson, because he can definitely work with that offense very well, I think. So yeah, that's all I had for Hawkinson. Then moving on to the second round pick, we had Jelani Jenkins. Now, Jelani Jenkins, what I have here, extremely versatile. Many fans don't know about him yet. Bob Quinn wanted a big linebacker who can play multiple positions in a Patricia defense. Jenkins is exactly that. There were a lot of people in the media and fans alike that were really criticizing this draft pick, and basically he was one of the bigger linebackers in this draft. And after that first round, there weren't a lot of big linebackers left, and a lot of those bigger linebackers that were left weren't as good. So Jelani Jenkins was one of the better linebackers left to fit Matt Patricia's defense. He wanted a guy who could play multiple positions, and that's exactly what they got here. For Jelani, I have here, he's an average athlete, but he has the instincts to cover over the middle. And then I kind of made a comparison to Vontaze Burfict, who played for the Bengals for quite a few years. I don't know how many years. He did have a lot of issues with, going for people's heads, head hunting and stuff like that. Had quite a few suspensions and things, but in terms of just being a football player, Vontaze Burfict, he's not a very good athlete, but he does a good job in zone coverage, and he does a good job of kind of watching the quarterback's eyes and also seeing guys coming across the field. He just does a good job. It's kind of I think it's kind of a natural feel to be able to do that. It's instinct, and I think Tavai has that. and I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Burfict, but I think it's very similar. And this is kind of, it's not exactly a quote, but I'm kind of paraphrasing here what Bob Quinn said. Basically, when people were questioning that second round pick, basically right after they made the pick, he said, Tavai is a big linebacker that can stuff the run as well as set the edge. He can also put his hand in the dirt and rush the passer. A lot of other teams weren't very high on him, and that's because he's not elite at anything, but pretty good at everything he would be asked to do in Detroit, and that's why he was high on our board. That's basically what Bob Quinn said. He admitted that a lot of teams probably weren't targeting him anywhere around the second round, but there was a chance that there's at least a couple other teams that were looking for a big linebacker like that. So they had to take him because they really liked what he could be in this defense. And that's pretty much it for Tavai. Moving on to the third round pick, Will Harris. So what I have here, Will Harris, very fast, one of the biggest hitters in the draft, has the ability to learn every position in an NFL secondary. And I do believe that. I do believe he would have the ability to play corner if we asked him to. Not sure if that's going to happen because in Patricia's defense, last year even, we did run three safeties quite a bit. So it could be a chance that he runs, as that third safety, or maybe Quandre Diggs would be that third safety. Honestly, I'm not sure if they're going to compete for that position or whatnot, but it will be interesting to see because Quandre Diggs had a pretty good year last year as well. Also has the ability to play nickel linebacker. Then I also put on here that I think that they hope to turn him into Patrick Chung, and Patrick Chung was basically the perfect safety for Patricia's defense. A guy that can play multiple positions, who can be an emergency corner. He can definitely play nickel linebacker, can do a lot of things, and I think that's what they're hoping Will Harris will be. So yeah, we'll have to see going forward what happens. And then we have here the fourth round pick, Austin Bryant. I thought this was one of the most underrated players in the draft. He was the fourth defensive lineman taken out of Clemson in the NFL draft. Basically, there were a lot of people questioning, did he benefit from being on the same field as three other very talented defensive linemen? Or is it a case where all these other talented defensive linemen were kind of stealing his shine? It kind of could go both ways, and I could see it going both ways. But I think, so I wrote down here, Austin Bryant was heavily overlooked for not being an elite athlete on a team of very elite athletes there in Clemson. And also in this draft, there were a lot of very good athletes at defensive line, and Austin Bryant was not really one of them. He's an average athlete. So yeah, I think he was kind of overlooked for that. And I think in most years, Austin Bryant probably would have been a second round pick at least. And then I also have here, played hurt versus Alabama in the Cotton Bowl and had an outstanding game. He was the defensive MVP of that game. He played better than all those other Clemson defensive linemen versus Alabama. And Alabama is the closest thing you'll find to an NFL team. In college, he played better than anybody else on that team versus Alabama, basically, with a torn pectoral that he suffered on November 3rd, sorry. So I think it goes without saying that Austin Bryant has the chance to become better than any of those other defensive linemen that were taken in front of him. However, all those other guys were a lot more talented in terms of athletic ability and stuff like that. Austin Bryant was just as good as of a college player and definitely showed up in the moment versus better teams like Alabama. Then we have Imani Rowe. So people that I trust said that he should have been a second round pick. Sticks with wide receivers like glue. Very good athlete with good ball skills, not afraid to tackle. Going into this draft, cornerback was probably my second biggest need. And I think we probably landed a starter in the fifth round with tremendous upside in Rowe. And I don't know if he's going to start over Rasheed Melvin or not. It will be interesting to see. I do think Rowe definitely has the ability to become a very good player. And this is one of those guys that I actually have not seen play in college, really. But, I'm just kind of trusting people that I know scout college football that tell me he should have been a second-round pick, is probably a starter in this league. So that's what I'm going off there. And yeah, I do really think corner was a huge need going into this offseason, and I was surprised they didn't sign anybody high profile, but Rasheed Melvin has started in the past and has been good at times. So, to have him along with Imani is definitely an upgrade, I think, over Nevin Lawson. Just about anything I think would be an upgrade over Nevin Lawson, so I will take it. And then we have the 6th round pick, Travis Fulghum, which I made an entire video on. My first time hearing about him was actually when we drafted him. He is the first offensive player to be drafted out of Old Dominion. We added his teammate Jonathan Duarte as an undrafted free agent as well. However, Fulghum looks pretty good. Didn't test off the charts, but after watching some tape, he has some great hands. Great hands. Honestly, both of these Old Dominion wide receivers have really good hands, so Jonathan Duarte does have very good hands as well. And Travis Fulghum does a very good job catching the ball away from his body with his hands, and that is extremely important in the NFL. And I also think that Fulghum can learn to run NFL routes. He works very hard, and he definitely has the hip flexibility to get it done in the NFL when it comes to running routes. Showed up in big games where Old Dominion wasn't getting blown out. So in a lot of games where Old Dominion was getting blown out, you didn't really see a whole lot from him, but in games where they weren't getting blown out, he played very well. So then for our other 6th round pick, Ty Johnson, what I have here, good speed and vision, but also likes to lower the shoulder and does a good job of falling forward. Something I had not really read when I was reading scouting reports. This is more what I saw when I watched him. I saw him fall forward more than I was expecting for a 6th round pick that's basically called a speed back. And then I also wrote down here, will add another dimension to an offense with his speed. He is a great kick returner, but he doesn't really have the best moves in the open field. He's not like Theo Riddick with a ridiculous juke move. He's more of a guy that will try to outrun you and use angles to beat you. So yeah, he has a pretty good stiff arm. I think his stiff arm is probably his best open field move. And definitely runs through arm tackles at times. So that's what I have for Ty Johnson there. And then for the 7th round pick, Isaac Nauta. What I have here, interesting player. Scouting report says limited athlete, but I see a guy who can do it all. A reliable blocker with great hands. He can definitely catch the ball. Lined up in the slot a lot in the college. Even more than Hawkinson. Honestly, he got behind Alabama's defense when they played Alabama. He had I don't think I wrote it down here, but he had like a 60-yard reception versus Alabama where he was out running guys. So to call him a limited athlete, I don't know if he's quite the athlete of Hawkinson, probably not, but I think he's probably about average athlete for a tight end in the NFL. And I don't think his athleticism is going to limit him in any way. So I think it will be interesting to see what actually happens in the NFL, but based on what I saw, doesn't look like a bad athlete, doesn't look like a blocking tight end, looks like a guy who can kind of do it all. And then I also have on here, he was very good with the ball in his hands, and Georgia had a lot of mouths to feed on that offense. There were a lot of other really talented players on that offense that he had to share the ball with, so to say that he wasn't productive or anything, I think that's kind of, I don't really trust that. And then for our other 7th round pick, PJ Johnson, what I got here, stands straight up on the snap. It's pretty obvious when you watch him. Pretty much every play, he will stand straight up at the snap of the ball. And that's pretty much like the biggest thing about him is he needs to learn how to lower his pad level quite a bit. And I think a lot of people will say, oh yeah, he'll learn that. But I'm pretty sure all of his coaches at, I think it was Arizona State, were telling him, hey, you definitely need to lower your pad level if you want to become a better player, because you're getting knocked off the ball because you're literally just standing straight up. And then I also have you're extremely strong and can disrupt the run. If he can learn to lower his pad level, he could become a pretty good player and possibly an NFL starter. Some of his best college plays are when he actually plays at defensive end. So that's something I saw as well. From what I watched, some of his better plays were playing at defensive end. So yeah, that's pretty much what I got for my notes that I took. It looks like so far TJ Hawkinson is really tearing it up in practice. I think someone said after day 3 he already had double-digit touchdowns in practice, which I don't know how much you really make of that. I mean, you're kind of just catching passes all day, right? I'm not sure if that's like all 11 on 11 team drills, or if that's like just one-on-ones or whatnot, but you know, it looks like he's doing a pretty good job in those, you know, one-on-one situations when the ball's thrown to him. So that's really good. Looks like we're going to get an immediate impact at tight end, so that's really good. And then Jelani Jenkins, by all accounts, everything I've heard, he's been tearing it up, absolutely tearing it up at camp. And it's looking like he might be even better than I thought he was going to be. You know, I thought he might be a guy who probably kind of starts, but also doesn't start all the time. Maybe might be game specific depending on how many snaps he gets, kind of thing. But it's looking like he's going to be a guy that's going to be starting every game, and actually might push Jarrad Davis out of his middle linebacker position. That's very possible, I think. And then for Will Harris, I haven't really heard anything about him yet. Nothing much from him in camp. And then for Austin Bryant, I've actually heard that he hurt his shoulder today in practice day 4 when he was getting blocked by TJ Hawkinson. So that's not a good thing. He was probably going to be, you know, a second or third string defensive end anyway, but you know, I hope he can have a speedy recovery with whatever would happen. I haven't heard anything else other than he got hurt, so I guess we'll see. I hope that's not too bad. And then with Imani Rowe, I heard day 4 he had a kind of a bad day, just getting beat a lot, kind of thing. So that's not good. Hopefully he can get better and get ready for the season, because we're definitely going to need him and Rasheed Melvin to play at a high level if we want to beat some good teams. And then for Travis Fulghum, by all accounts, it sounds like he's having a tough time, and it's looking like he's having a tough time getting really good snaps in practice, really good reps, basically. He's basically running with the second and third team, looks like, which is about what I would have expected for a 6th-round pick to start. You know, but I do believe he is a really good hard worker, and I do think he will push for that spot. I think if he can push himself up to wide receiver 4 before the season starts, I think that would be a very good position for him, because he will be able to get some first string reps, I think, and that would be really good. And I think he would do a lot with that opportunity. And then for Ty Johnson, Isaac Nauta, and PJ Johnson, I haven't really heard anything coming out of camp other than Ty Johnson's really fast. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for this video. I wanted to make this video like 2 months ago, but I guess it's all right now. Just kind of relate it to what we're hearing coming out of camp. And those are my thoughts. Hope you guys enjoy these videos. Thanks for watching.